All right. Good evening. This is the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission meeting, and today is January 29th. And I call the meeting to order. It's at 7 p.m. David, can you proceed with the roll call?
Yes. Chair Ganga,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eshelbeck,
Here.
Commissioner Matipatla,
Yes.
Commissioner Marcy, Commissioner Wolf.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, David. So with that, let's move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. It's the approval of the minutes dated December 17th, the previous bicycle session. Do we have anyone to propose to approve the meeting?
I move to approve the meetings from December 17, 2025.
Do we have a second?
A second.
David, can you help us with the vote?
Yes. So for approval of the December 17th Bike Commission minutes, how do you vote? Chair Ganga,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eshelbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Matipatla,
Yes.
Commissioner Marcy, Commissioner Wolf.
Abstain.
Okay, motion passes 4 in favor, 1 abstention.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Marcy.
Commissioner Marcy.
Okay, the motion passes the meeting. Minutes got approved. So with that, let's move on to the next item. David, do we have any postponements?
No.
All right, do we have any return commission? Before that, actually, let's for the oral communications first.
We have no speakers, Chair.
Oh, okay, that's thank you. And we don't have anyone here to speak for the oral communication. Let's move on to the next one. Do we have any written communications?
No, and we've been advised by the clerk's office that does need to be included on agendas.
We don't have to.
Correct, which is why it's not on the agenda.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So with that, let's move on to the first or the second agenda item number, which is the Cupertino Active Transportation Plan. And I think we have a presentation by Matt.
Yes, and Prashant will be sharing the slides. I'm having some network challenges. So next slide. So a lot has kind of happened since we were here last. In this presentation, provide you with where we stand currently, go over the changes that we've made based on the commission, public, and council comments. Also give you an overview of what we heard from the community during phase 2. As a reminder, phase 2 was the network recommendations phase. So they were looking at the pedestrian and bicycle recommendations and reviewing those and telling us which they prefer and which they don't. As part of our phase 2 effort, we also developed 2 new policy memos that we're going to be bringing to council for their consideration for inclusion from the ATP. And these memos were really developed in response to a lot of the comments that we've heard, not just during this project, but even before it. So next slide. So brief background, just to remind everyone here, it's a city work program item, been kicked around for a while. In June 2024, council approved staff's approach in securing TDA 3 funding for the plan. And then they approved the contract with Alta in December of 2024. Next slide. Again, it's just a reminder, active transportation is about coming up with network recommendations to make it easier for people to walk and bike. Also includes programmatic and policy recommendations, network recommendations that are based off of technical analysis work, as well as just listening to the community and figuring out where do you find it challenging to walk and bike? Where do you want to go by walking and biking? Next slide. So we are coming to the end of the project here. We finished phase 2, which ran from the middle of August through the end of November. We have kind of revised our scoring criteria and run the projects through the revised criteria. And we will then, after we go to the planning commission for review and then the city council for review, address any comments that might come up during those meetings and begin the preparation draft plan. That draft plan will be circulated in the community for a month. It will be an interactive PDF so people can comment directly on the document. Next slide. So we went to you guys in June, planning commission in September, and council in November. We received a bunch of comments at those meetings, and in this presentation, I'll explain how we've kind of addressed those comments. There's a lot of areas of consensus across the three bodies. So what you're going to see here tonight is how we've kind of organized that information and then addressed it with respect to the new policy memos, as well as the revisions to the scoring criteria. Next slide. So the community outreach that we did for phase 2, this is just going to be a brief summary of the work that was performed. Next slide. So the outreach was for the network recommendations. And again, these network recommendations, as a reminder, were developed looking at best practices and guidelines from reference documents that come from Caltrans and FHWA, what we heard from the public during phase 1, the data analysis that we did, so the active trip potential work and the LTS work, and also past plans referencing previous head plan, bike plan, local road safety, streets plan, and Vision Zero. Next slide. The bike recommendations are grouped into these 5 types of projects: the shared use, the separated bikeway, buffered bike lane, standard bike lane, and a neighborhood route. Next slide. And then for the pedestrian projects, the intersection projects, specifically, these were grouped into different typologies, A, B, and C, just to allow for greater flexibility when moving forward with project delivery. Next slide. So phase 2 outreach consisted of 8 pop-up events. We're at the Creekside Farmers Market there on the left, outside of the senior center in the middle, and then all day at Diwali on the right. We also had 2 workshops, one in person, one virtual, and 3 hearings that I referenced on the previous slide at BPC, planning, and city council. Next slide. So in terms of what we heard from the public about the different projects, for the pedestrian projects, there was very strong support for the shared use paths or trails. And there was also a lot of emphasis placed on improving safety at intersections, especially intersections where these roads overlap in certain places. So Stelling, De Anza, Stevens Creek, Bollinger, and Blaney are the primary streets that we heard about when it came to the public's review of the pedestrian recommendations. Next slide. And it kind of similarly to the bike projects, strong support for the shared use paths. People really wanted upgraded facilities on Stevens Creek, De Anza, Blaney, Bollinger. We also heard repeatedly that the focus should be on improving student safety and access to schools, as well as a kind of more comprehensive, better neighborhood route network that incorporated some traffic calming features to provide greater access to schools and destinations, especially because people are wanting to, get from their homes, which are off the arterials, to shopping or dining, things like that. Next slide. So here we have the top 5 projects from the community. So the bike projects here, the trail projects similarly were brought over, or they were ranked, right? If you recall, you could rank the bike projects or the trail projects in the bike category, but those trail projects aren't shown here because we wanted to focus on the bicycle facility projects as they're typically thought about. So for bike projects, Stevens Creek, Blaney, Homestead, Bollinger, and Stelling received the most votes for. And for pedestrian projects, Torrey, UPRR, Blaney and Stevens Creek, the Lawrence Midi Trail, and the Tamian Inu were the most popular projects. Next slide. And now we get into the updated criteria. So what we heard from the commissions, council, and the public were a variety of things. And so to address those, we did the following. Well, first, there were, as I mentioned, areas of consensus that the metrics that we move forward with should be objective and based in data. There was also a need to, or a request really to prioritize safety around schools and figure out how to elevate projects along the high injury network. And also think about how to incorporate technology so that they're not just listed as programmatic elements within the document, but as physical projects. So the changes that we made to the bicycle criteria as a result of that is we, previously it was just purely, is the project within a quarter mile of the high injury network? We added it so that, or we kind of altered it so that you get 20 points if the project is on the network, 10 points if it's within 1,000 feet. So really trying to prioritize figuring out how to improve the high injury network itself. We added more scoring to school projects, elevating it from 10 to 20, and also changing the metric from a distance-based proximity to the suggested route to school so that it's precise, so that we know students are going to be using these routes to go to school. The improvements make sense to be placed along these routes. There was a request from council to also consider additional impacts to arterials. So additional 10 points would not be awarded to a project if there was a potential impact to the arterial specifically. So additionally, potential need for a lane reduction or parking removal, any project that has been determined to have that will not be receiving the additional 10 points. And then also council requested that cost be considered scoring these projects. So a cost effectiveness criteria was added where projects that are under $500,000 would be awarded 10 points. Projects between 500,000 or projects between 500,000 and 2 million would be awarded 5. Over 2 million would receive 0 points. And so similarly here for the pedestrian network, cost effectiveness was added. There's no arterial impacts and similar changes to the school scoring as well as to the high entry network. Next slide. And then, as is the case with the intersection projects, the sidewalk projects had the same changes. And now we get into a new addition. So this is a new project that was created based on council's comments to prioritize technology. So we created what we're referring to as transportation technology corridors. And these are corridors that we came up with first by looking at the typology C intersections that were recommended in the ATP. Looking at those, seeing their overlap with the Vision Zero high injury network, and then looking at our collision data specifically to find determine where in those corridors there's high rates of collisions that have a primary collision factor that's either due to red light violations or signs and signals. So the sheriff kind of categorizes the type of collision by its factor, and those were the 2 factors that we selected. Also, we looked at traffic signals that the city owns and controls so that we would be able to implement these. There are certain roadways where our neighboring cities actually maintain the intersections on those being Bollinger and Homestead. Well, certain parts of Homestead at least. So Homestead is a corridor here, but it's a corridor where we have the control to actually go in and install these devices or whatever technologies we decide to pursue. And then earlier this week, Alta provided us with the draft project list that we emailed in advance. So these projects, it's still being QA, QC. The analysis, so the way that they score these projects is all GIS based. So we're just gonna go in and make sure that the way that they've set up their script, it's accurately identifying the projects, according to what we have within our GIS. But we'll get to the list here. Next slide. And the key takeaways from how the scoring really played out is that the top projects are ones that are school related, that are Vision Zero related, especially where there's overlap with schools in Vision Zero, and projects that are lower cost. Also projects where we know there's greater certainty with respect to deliverability, so there's less trade-offs for the project. Those also scored fairly well. So the top 4 projects here are pedestrian intersection projects, neighborhood routes coming after that, and then the Tamian Trail. And that's kind of the key takeaway, is that the way that the scoring is structured, schools, Vision Zero, cost, and city's ability to implement with widespread public support. Next slide. So in addition to those modifications to the criteria, we're also going to be proposing 2 new guidelines or policies that will be incorporated in the ATP. These are to address the community's concerns to collect more data, to be able to better evaluate project impacts, and be able to better measure project success. So firstly, we have developed the project impact assessment guidelines. So what this policy is it says once a project is initiated by council and it goes through design, you get 10%, and then ultimately at 30%. And at 30%, if it's determined that this design requires the removal of travel lane, there might be impacts at the intersection, there's going to be parking removal, that project is then brought back before the city council for them to review the design, to make a judgment on whether or not this project should undergo further traffic analysis. And the reason why it's at 30% is because 30% is far enough so that certain features are known, and we need to know those elements in order to bring them into the traffic modeling, so we get accurate outputs. And then council will decide, okay, this is a project that we want, more analysis work on, go and do the analysis. That analysis will be learned, and the results will be brought back before the council. So the council can then decide to make any modifications to the design, or if the impacts are so severe, they could just discontinue the project entirely. Next slide. And then the next one is the project effectiveness memo. So this is about how do we measure success as it relates to these plans. So we have the Vision Zero document, we have our climate action plan. Vision Zero, we want to eliminate collisions. Climate action, we want to reduce our emissions. So what this is proposing is we will, once a project is initiated and a design has reached 100% and we're about to go for construction, there'll be a pretty robust pre-construction data collection period that will allow us to establish pre-project conditions and ridership, things of that nature. And then using the same approach, post-construction, run the same count, and then be able to tell, all right, is ridership increasing? Are collisions increasing or decreasing or staying the same? So that gives us a clean way to look at, all right, are we delivering the results that we want to see? So next steps, next slide, please. So as I mentioned previously, we're going to go to Planning Commission February 10th, and then to the City Council, we're going to be presenting the same information that we presented here today. After that, address any comments that might come from this meeting or those meetings, and then incorporate those into the draft plan. The draft plan will then be circulated in the public for a 1-month period. Then we will address any comments that come up from that. And we are eyeing a potential adoption date in June for the ATP.
But thank you, Matt. So that, I would like to, say that we will take clarifying questions. First, one is like, I want to give a feedback that we would like to get such, important or volume of pages that we have to go through, to at least a week before the meeting. I know it became this is a special meeting and we got it like a day before. So I would, that's, we've always given that feedback to David. I hope that we will follow that as we move forward. So with that, okay, thank you. And I would like to open up any clarifying questions.
Yeah, similarly, I think the 24-hour providing of the document did not give us enough time to really substantially review those materials. So I don't think we are in a position today actually to provide feedback. My recommendation would be to bring it back in February. I think we can discuss today, but in terms of feedback, I think we should plan for this for February.
Yeah, I
But
understand that. The project list came in on Wednesday.
I understand. I'm not looking for an excuse. I'm just stating the obvious here.
Yeah.
So I think we're not really in a position today to really provide substantive feedback, but there is going to be some feedback. I think that we can share today. I think we should consider the February meeting as the official feedback meeting.
So I'll go next. So, I agree with, the comments by, Chair, Vice Chair, Michelberg. So, especially, the project list, ranked method projects, with the scores. I mean, these are near and dear to, residents in terms of, what's happening and how it affects their lives. And obviously, we want to very much. So I appreciate the fact that there's a lot of work that has gone in, right? Like, more than year and a half worth of work, that has gone in, right? And I saw in one of the slides, we talk about an active transportation plan, but we always talk about, biking and walking. We don't talk about, the other modes of transportation, right? So we need to be thinking about, all modes of transportation, not just, biking and walking. Yes, we want to make, the biking and walking safe, but that's not the only thing that we should be thinking about, right? So something, to kind of, when we prepare, we need to take into consideration, all types of transportations. So that's one. And given the list of projects and the scores, I do believe, we need some time to kind of, weigh in on this and as a commission. And also, I think, we should get, more public input, right? Like, this itself, on this document itself, we should put it out there and, get solicited. And if people want to come on, speak on this meeting, we should give them that opportunity, because we really look at, some of the feedback that we got. I don't know, last meeting or 2 meetings ago, it was pretty, telling that, even from the council and, public in general was like, we're not doing enough, in terms of, educating public on, what's happening, right? So, and I think, I want to change the perception, right? So I want us to get, more, like, put all these things out there, get them to come and talk about it and, make it more visible and give them time to kind of, digest and respond, right? So to me, that's paramount important, because, whatever we do on this project is going to affect their lives, and it's important to get their input.
Commissioner Marks?
Was there a question here? Or?
No, okay, just we're asking for clarifying comments or, yeah, and then we'll come back for discussions and feedback.
Okay. So my question would be regarding the two things. These final scores, were they done by you or the consultants, or you and the consultants?
The consultant. Yeah.
Final score for that, okay. And are you going to publish the kind of the, like, if I look at the projects, for example, I see some of the projects that I find interesting rank pretty low and lower than I thought they would have. And so are you going to publish, for example, all the criteria or just a sum of the criteria at the end?
We'll be including, this is just a summary. And again, we're still doing the QA QC on this. We just received this list from the consultants. So,
Okay.
but as part of the ultimate plan, we will be including a breakdown of the major categories and
Okay.
how each
So
project.
per project, like, would be the sum and as well as for each criteria on this.
So that will be part of the draft document.
Yes.
I had the same comment as Commissioner Marcy as far as getting the breakdown, so that question is answered. And then the new bicycle network criteria, there's a balance. I'm trying to understand that. I see got 10 points for potential need for lane reduction or parking removal. Is that a negative 10 points?
No, so it's a 10 points that are applied to projects where there are no impacts. So you can think of it as a bonus for those.
And then there's another, you get additional 10 points if you don't have a lane reduction or parking removal on the city arterial.
Correct.
And then one general comment, maybe, I'm not sure this is a clarifying question. The ranking of these projects in the end of the score, my recollection is that on the old tradition, the ones with the highest score are most likely to get implemented. Is that correct?
Historic, the way that those previously plans, they kind of tiered projects. Our approach will be just, here's the project list. Council can make a judgment on which project they want to direct staff to pursue.
And then the other question, feedback, I mean, it would be helpful if, you put this in like an Excel spreadsheet and then sort by project category instead of, because I'd like to see the pedestrian projects, the bicycle projects, the mixed use, the shared use projects, get those all separated out.
Yeah.
It's, otherwise the bicycle stuff is lost in this document right now. It's very pedestrian oriented.
Yeah, we can certainly color code it.
Just really one more comments about things that could improve that. I think it would be great because the consultants showed us the network map of the areas where trips could be reduced. Like those, like the red color where a lot of trips to be reduced. It would be great to have an overlay of these projects onto that map to see, okay, this is where we are. Projects are here because we want to see the improvements in these things. Doing something visual so that we can see where the projects are as opposed to where the objective of the plan is.
Okay, thank you. With that, let's go to the public. Do we have any? Anyone raise their hands?
No hand raised.
Okay, so we don't have any public comments. Okay, so let's bring it back to the commission for further discussions and feedback from the commission members. So go from maybe this time. You want to go first? Okay, let's
One clarifying question again.
Sure.
These projects, what is the time frame for all these projects? Are we like looking at in 5 years we will have accomplished all of them, or what's the time frame for that? How are we looking at it?
This document's supposed to serve as a 10-year plan for the city.
10 year?
It's a guideline as the city has the resources to projects or to look for grants for the projects that provides a map for the city to move forward, but there's no necessarily end date which to implement all of them.
But 10 year would be what would be the horizon?
Generally a 10-year horizon, and keep in mind too, these plans are generally updated every 5 years or so. So in another 5 years or so, there's an opportunity to back, revisit the list, mix things up, or however, based on new priorities from the community or.
Was it your be? Oh, yeah. You want to go next?
Yeah, so, I mean, there are 204 items, projects, right? So it's pretty good, right? It's a huge list. So if I'm someone, as a consumer looking at this, there is something I see, that's going to affect my life, closer to me or whatever, right? So I want to be able to click in and see, what that project looks like, whatever we are planning to do, right? Because we are talking about signage and stuff, right? So we probably know what it is, but for the somebody ordinary person, out there, they may not know what it's right. So it'll be good to have, for each one of these, a visual that shows, yeah, here is what it looks today. And if you do it, here is how it's going to look like, right? So that gives them a pretty good idea of, is that something that, they would like to see or not? That would help them, to provide some feedback and comment.
Yeah, so we have, in the plan, we will have general pictures of what's implied by the different typologies, but we won't be designing an improvement for each project with a visual.
Yeah. So I was thinking, with AI tools and, with all the technology that developed, is there some opportunity to kind of, visually generate, take an existing one and, and provide some prompts and say, hey, here is how, like, so this is
For
how.
each project, no. Yeah, and the whole idea was with keeping the typologies as we've done them in the plan is to allow staff and the community some flexibility once the project is chosen for implementation or design or study.
Yeah.
To allow some flexibility to go in and look at it a lot closer than we're able to do with the development of our plan with 200 projects and see really what needs to be done at that intersection to improve safety.
Yeah.
So it would kind of do a disservice to go in and do just sort of a general, this is what it's going to look like at this point, because we don't really know if that's what it's going to look like. And we don't have the resources to do that, a detailed dive into each project.
Yeah, so I'm not suggesting, to go and spend, some hundreds of thousands of dollars to come up with these things, right? Like, I think, there's a lot of tools and technologies, with AI that might be able to help, right? Like, for example, that Dianza Pacifica, like, the metal cross junction, right? I live close to it, right? So I was like, I didn't know what to expect when that project started, right? And of course, there's a lot of them, right? But then I really liked the way it turned out, right? So, but then I couldn't see it ahead of time, right? So as someone, that will be impacted by and that living close by, I would have liked to see that, ahead of time, right? So.
Maybe that's the input that could be included as part of when we think of projects or some major project which you already know what it means when you have a project description. Possibly it could be done for major ones, but for other ones, maybe at least you can have a generic visual, like I would say.
Mention implementation package.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, after we go to council and council gives us some direction on what projects we're probably most interested in pursuing, we're gonna have the consultant prepare implementation packages for the top 5 of those. And that's gonna be kind of like those more detailed renderings that you were talking about, as well as very initial conceptual drawings, like 5%. So at that point, the community is going to be able to get a sense of what that individual project looks like. And we're also going to likely select projects that are going to have similar design elements at other projects. So someone can look at, I don't know, let's say take Stelling. The Stelling might be very similar to Blaney. Do the rendering for Stelling. They can look at that and say, oh, I can kind of envision what this is going to look like on Blaney.
So this is our scoring, right? Like, whatever the consultants, using some methodology, they score, right? So is there a desire to get, public to vote on these things, nothing like, hey, this is out there, like, you like it, thumbs up, thumbs down, and, and
That's, we kind of try to do that with having the fairness component
yeah.
of the criteria.
Yeah.
And we're provided the direction to just move forward with the most objective raw metrics that we could choose.
Okay, so maybe I'll go last.
I think there is one area where I feel like we should be a little bit more kind of explicit in this kind of recommendations chart here, and I'm specifically referring here to, I can understand signage and striping from a cost perspective, I can visualize that roughly. I can also visualize some of the others, but physical improvements to me could be a bridge. it could be a speed bump, right? So the range is really wide. That's why you have the criteria from 0 to 500, from 500 to 2 million and above 2 million. I think it would be really appropriate for each of those projects here to explicitly list that A, B, and C, A, B, or C category that you use for that. Because right now, physical improvements on, I'm picking a random project here, 13 McClellan Road, Clubhouse Lane. I have no idea what this is gonna be. Is this gonna be 5 million? Is this gonna be 100,000?
No.
10,000?
For the intersection projects, you could think of physical improvements in terms of like curb extensions and minor concrete work.
But would it be, I mean, doesn't seem like hard to add a column here that indicates the voting criteria for the fiscal responsibility.
Oh, the value, like
Yeah.
this falls.
Yeah, and I'm not asking for exact dollars. I'm just, what score did you use for the scoring for the fiscal responsibility? That would give exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, and we'll have that in the table, as we mentioned earlier. That would be one of the criteria.
But even in this column, it would be super helpful.
Okay.
For visibility and clarity. And then the second question is, I did see in the list, and I just cursorily looked through the Torrey Avenue project that we've talked a few times here in this meeting before as a major safety issue in the city. I didn't see that at all on the list, so I don't know why it's not on there.
Yeah.
Should it be on there or, I mean, I'm assuming it should be on.
There was no project recommendation for Torrey except for at Torrey and Pacifica with signage and striping.
But who makes the project recommendation? Like, I mean,
That's us. I mean.
So these project recommendations were developed in July of last year.
This list here?
Yeah, well, the projects
So we
themselves.
talked even in this meeting here a few times, I think even on 2 occasions in the bike commission, talked about the problems on Torrey, like some residents were even speaking about it. So I'm just wondering why it's not included in the, it should be pretty high on the list, in my opinion.
because already David is preparing.
Yeah.
Collecting data on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of already a project in progress, if you will, because I'm already looking at it and collecting data and bringing it
That's
back.
a great reason to.
Yeah, but it'll be, I mean, we can look at including it, but the decision will be made on that before the plan is even done.
But that's true also for other projects, like the Caminito is on here as well. And the decision has been made on this as well. So I see no reason why this should not be on here.
Okay.
Considering the importance of it there. And then on the project category, I mean, I realize some of them are fairly specific for pedestrian use. But I would really see value that we list like at least pedestrian and bicycles if it's both. It almost seems like some of the things are just bicycles, which is probably not the case. Some of the improvements are really serving both, or even more. To be specific. So I think we're misleading a little bit here by just having a product category listing one of the two. So can we list maybe 2 or more, maybe bicycle, pedestrian and others, or those 3 categories and list multiple if it serves others. Some of them may be explicitly for one category, but in the majority of cases, like I see here, crossings like Stevens Creek Trail or Linda Vista Trail. That, for example, crossing, that should be probably pedestrian, bicycles, and other as well. So to make it a little bit more specific, because it seems like otherwise it makes it look like there is only serving one category, which is not really the case. I know, does it make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense. So the project category is supposed to indicate which criteria table was used to run the project through. And I kind of cleaned it up here. So trail projects went through the bike criteria, but it's more of a shared use. And then similarly with the grade step at McClellan, changed that to a crossing. But I feel like there is a way that we can kind of attribute the project benefits to the specific modes that you're referencing. So we'll definitely think about that.
And maybe you have bike, pedestrian, and multi. I mean, multi could be the universal use for all of the above. If that is possible, I think it would make the document more valuable and more more readable, I guess, as well. So looking forward for seeing it next month again in an updated manner.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu.
So, you guys just real clear. These neighborhood bike routes, which seem to be prolific through this, the project, network recommendations. I mean, what is the thought behind those? Are they're just gonna be marked or,
They would get, depending on what the routes are, but looked at, the thinking is we're combining the city's existing bike routes as they're labeled with the bike boulevard network to create the neighborhood route network, which would be given extra consideration, get serious traffic calming, potentially more speed tables, think about what to do at the intersections with making adjustments to the turning radius.
and, the intersection of Family and Stephen Creek, is that going to be modified? I didn't see that on the plan. There's a stoplight there. And, I know, David, you mentioned in the past that it would be associated with phase 2B,
Yes,
which is.
it will be, when phase 2B moves forward, there will be changes to the signal operation to enhance pedestrian safety.
Now, phase 2B doesn't score very well, it's on this project. So that may be something that, you know. Isn't that something that maybe should be broken out, or is that always, they're always going to go together? Phase 2B and the Family and Stevens Creek,
The intent is, as far as economies of cost, that they would be done simultaneously. They don't have to be necessarily. Yeah, you could do the pedestrian improvements without doing the phase.
and then I haven't had a lot of time to look at this, but I didn't see the intersection that I've lived near for 40 years, which has always been dangerous and continues to be dangerous, is Stevens Creek and Deanza. I didn't see that on here, unless that's part of that technology. There's a the project category, which is technology. Is that part of the technology?
No, it's a standalone project.
Is it a standalone? Is it
Yeah.
on here? Is it?
I'm looking at our web map and it's on there, so it has to be in the table. I'm just not sure where exactly it
So the
is.
first page is like the 20 item number. Or rank number 20.
That's the technology.
Right.
And Matt, you were saying it wasn't. It was a standalone.
Why is it?
Standalone project.
If it was standalone project, then location should be across multiple locations, right? Cannot be just one location. There is one more place.
46.
There's a technology corridor, the transportation technology corridor, right? It's beyond job.
It will include the ANZA, correct?
But
But
then it's scored really low, like 130 in the rank. Maybe you'll have to look at the technology to see why, how it gets scored.
how the technology project was
Yeah,
scored?
yeah,
So the technology project scores at 20.
okay.
And then I had one other comment I had is the scoring, like for the criteria for score for new transportation technology corridors is, if you look at that, the safety, access, and sustainability, those are the three categories, and that total 80 points. But those categories are somewhat different than, I mean, you have cost effectiveness, which, I mean, I would personally, I'd love to see, I'd like the last bike plan where you just break out they put the cost, you know, And that way you can, okay, the cost isn't really it's something that everybody could, you have to consider, but why put it in the scoring, let the council make that decision. If it's a $5 million project, okay, then, but if people are getting, they put that project in, might save 3 lives or, versus, if it's, a half a, $50,000 project, it's, I would like to know that. I mean, is that gonna be in the final
In
document?
the final document, each of the projects will have a planning cost or estimated cost associated with them, similarly to the 2016 plan.
That's great.
And I feel the same way about of course, I think I've expressed this opinion before, about, losing parking, I mean, some people will view that as a negative, but does that change the situation as far as, the safety of the cyclists? For instance, Sunnyvale just recently, their council voted to eliminate all the parking on Hollenbeck. Essentially, because it's a very narrow road, there's a lot of cyclists, and and I bike it all the time, by the way, so I appreciate what the council did, but it's like, that's something that, I think that shouldn't be a negative. That's something to take into consideration, which their council did. I mean, they had people voting, voicing their opinion against removal of parking, and then we have people expressing their support for removing the parking. So, but I just don't like to see that as part of the scoring, because that's not, you can address each of those individual cost effectiveness and, I guess, what do you call that, balance? I've never seen balance. I've looked at like 20 bike plans. I've never seen balance and actually cost effectiveness is see there. They score the costs. The costs are always in the end in the plan, but they're not part of the scoring process, the number that they come up with. And we didn't do it that way in the past. So,
Yeah, this is something that we were asked to consider for inclusion.
And it helps really kind of comparing two equal projects, right? And the purpose of that is if there's two equal projects from all the scores, and I have one project that's 5 million and one project that's 500,000, I know which one I would recommend. So that's the purpose, I think, why it's in there. So I think it makes perfect sense to have it in there, just as a way to kind of differentiate the different classes of projects. Because constructing a bridge versus building a speed bump are two, if they have everything else is equal, it's certainly clear which one I would go for.
Okay, thank you. I'll insert myself and then we'll come back for another round as well. So I think we have been spending too much time on, the project and priorities, and I've seen in the past that, it's possible that the council will pick any project out of any priority and for whatever reason can push projects forward, right? So I think this is an active transportation plan. It's a policy document, which means that we need to really focus on what's our policy or what's our city's vision. I think we gave this feedback on August 20th in the BPC meeting, but I didn't see that. I know there are some documents came out of it. I'll talk about it. The idea is like the first part of it, of the document should focus on what's the objective and what's the policy for this or vision for this active transportation plan for the city of Cupertino. That should be clearly spelled out, and the council people give the endorsement on that one. The second thing is, instead of going through individual projects, then we pick up on key focus areas, saying that, okay, these are the focus areas for the city, and you can cluster the projects together. That's what we'll be taking up for going forward. It need not be that, there's a small intersection improvement, we rank it to high or low, but it could fit in a basket of projects that fits that focus area. Like, for example, we're saying that, improving the school safety around Blossom or Monte Vista, you can pick, and then that becomes a cluster of projects that are basketed together and say that, hey, we wanted to really make real improvement near the school area. And that's our priority. And then you just show that the council really wants to do that. Or we take a high injury corridor, and within the high injury corridor, we can say that like we can't do all of it one time. Basket it's saying that, in the closer to the city center, right? That's basically where it's more important for us, and then pick that one and show the cluster of projects there, and then improve it. I mean, you go back and look at Fremont or some of the other cities, they have done that kind of a thing. So that kind of lays out the vision on how. So when the people are picking up projects, I want to improve the Deonza corridor, or the city council wanted to improve the Deonza corridor, and then all cluster of projects there will get, focus, because we wanted to improve that. Right? That's one example. I was just saying that no, you can have like 3 to 5 focus areas. So it could be school access, or you might say that the pedestrian safety is your focus, and then pick an area region to say that where you want to do that. So we can't do all of it. Then the other, that's why actually I said like you have measurable outcomes, and then you also had the policy guidelines. I saw one of the document talks about the policy guidelines, and you have kind of given examples of different cities have done different things. I mean, this is kind of similar to this, right? They have, which city went, which one is this one? Somewhere else. Okay. So what you say that, this is the policy document, and then you say that there's a different criteria, and then different cities have adopted different policies. It becomes like a la carte of huge list of things, and then what you're saying is, okay, this is what you wanted to do, and you cite some major documents, and then below that you're saying that, okay, these are the recommendations, and so that's like 2 pages of recommendations, and give examples of different cities. But what we are trying to say here, what do we want for our city of Cupertino? Similar to how you're citing that example. Now you say that these are the 3 or 4 things that we wanted to for Cupertino, and then the council endorses that, and then that becomes the part of it. Right, and the other thing is, like you said, that criteria, you don't have to go back to the council and then say that, look, project impact evaluation guideline. That's what we wanted to have as part of our policy. Write that in. That becomes one of the chapters in the policy document itself, and that you go to the council for recommendation. If they don't want it, they can always take it out. At least that will be the recommendation coming, let's say, even from the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission. The other thing is the project effectiveness guidelines. We have been talking about this many times in the last year, right? This is like, how do we know whether the project that we are proposing is really effective? Good that prepared this document, right? That shows what was it before, and then after you do that, what do you expect? What is your success criteria, right? You spell that out in the project itself. When you're going through all your, 30%, 50%, you also say what is your success criteria, so that you use this toolbox to measure 2 years down the road whether it really met that criteria. That becomes the feedback for other projects. Even though it's prioritized high, hey, this type of project is not really, it's not meeting the objective. So which means that all those ranking goes away, right? So that's basically, so this is something that then you need to spell it out in your policy document, like your ATP plan. So put that in there and then say that this is the structure of your our Cupertino's policy document or ATP document, and then council can decide what to do. This is my feedback. I think if you go back and look at August 20th, we had similar thing in there, stated that. So instead, what we are doing is most of the time, 75% of the time, we are working on all this priority criteria, which now it becomes 200 projects. Very hard to really manage this. What do you want? What improvement do you want to do for the city? And anytime any new council can come and pull this up and then say that that's.
And a lot of what you described is exactly what's going to be in the plan with respect to the vision that's already online that everyone can see, and the plan goals, and the long list of projects is just so that rather than having things groups, you can, a community member can come to council and say, hey, I have 75 people that are interested in this project. Can this get some attention? Whereas if it was grouped or structured in a different way, it's maybe something that will be immediately looked at and kind of discarded. But the policy comments that you had, that's exactly how we intend to move forward with incorporating those into the plan, is bringing them to council, have them review it, get their blessing, say, do you support this? And then it will be included in the plan, it will be adopted, and it will be something that staff will follow when it comes to project delivery.
The first part is the policy part, right? So that, maybe put the structure right now itself, show that this is how the draft policy document will look like. So that becomes your input. So that if they want to modify it or they want to restructure it, council gets an opportunity to do that rather than waiting for the draft, right? Right? We're not asking to write the whole thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
But
to
give me a
have
template.
the document ready for their review. Yeah, I see.
You're looking for an outline of the draft?
Yeah, exactly. Outline of the draft and what needs.
Or of the policies specifically. So like the.
Yeah, you already have this, like,
Yeah.
there are a few, it's like memos, you have like different guidelines, and that's supposed to be part of the policy document, right? Isn't? So
Okay.
you could state that. And the cluster of projects, there's another idea is like the cluster of projects, I said, like, that some of the cities are already following that. That becomes your first few parts of it will be that. You might have, other projects for this project criteria, but more like, say, for example, Sunnyvale, they want to improve this town center area. And then projects around that.
We'll consider that. I'm hesitant to do too much of that because I want to give the flexibility if there are constraints in terms of budget or what have you, to be able to do individual improvements where necessary. We have grouped neighborhood routes into areas that make sense, kind of like what you described, but for like individual intersection projects, that may not work quite so well.
In both, that's what I'm saying, that, this is your grand vision that you want to do it. You may not have budget, or city may not have budget to do all of it at the same time. But you might try to do improvements in those areas when the budget allows, right? Yeah.
And yeah, it's the point I'll bring up again and again, but there's discretion on everybody's level, staff, commission, council, to choose projects from the list in an order that doesn't necessarily follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the priorities. So if we want to improve a downtown area and we see that intersection 3, 7, and 9 prize a piece that makes sense, we can form a project from those, and we don't necessarily have to do the ones in between. We've done that
Not a
with
must
plan.
have execute
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, we look at opportunities to do projects where we can, and if the opportunity arises to group a few together into a project that makes sense, we have the discretion, council has the discretion to do that.
Unless you lay out that vision, they won't know it, right? So yes, it can be done, but it will not be done.
So if I could just respectfully ask, maybe we table
Yeah,
in the interest of time, since we're bringing it back next month. The intention, what we'll do is, we've heard the commission tonight. We're going to bring back exactly what you saw tonight. So the recommendations and the suggestions you have, we will consider, but not before the next.
Can we make the updates with the column that I was suggesting or including there as well? Because if we give it up, the public has not seen the document yet. I believe.
They will, because I was going to
Right.
post it on the website.
But we could make those improvements before we send it out to the public. That sounds like an easy answer.
We'll talk internally about it.
So you're taking it to the planning commission sometime in February,
10th.
and then also the council in February, right? So we would like to bring it to the commission before the council meeting, at least. At a minimum.
Our next meeting is February 18. Council is on 19.
Would that give you enough time for you to?
To do what?
Well, no, we want to make sure.
The overall schedule.
You and the council will see exactly the same thing.
No, but
We could.
So what-
And we can-
Comments to.
But yeah, we can.
So whatever we are, at that point in time, we will be formally making a motion or making a formal recommendation like what we did last time. So you want to make sure that that formal recommendation is presented to the council along with this package.
Yeah. So both the planning commission feedback and the
Yes.
by commission feedback will be part of the council
Yes.
package, which I think, I'm not sure about the
You
notice
won't have-
requirements because
yeah.
it's February 19 versus February 18.
So you won't have time to really present it.
Something we can include as a desk.
We can make sure that council has that information.
Okay, as long as there is visibility for the council of our feedback, then I think that will.
Okay, you can have a placeholder and then include it as a desk item. Okay, with that, any other comments? Nothing, so we'll bring it back. And then whatever we said, like, I'm sure, like, we'll make a formal recommendation. Thank you. Thank you all for the feedback.
Have a safe trip. So if I get that, I don't get caught in the snowstorm.
So with that, let's move on to conclude this agenda item. No, we don't have to, not today.
Yeah. We say that, go put it out there for public comments and we don't want to bring it back, whatever.
Yeah, hopefully, like, the public will also have time to review this before the next time, right? They'll have enough time, yeah. So the next one is it's item number 3. This is 2026 Bicycle Pedestrian Commission meeting schedule. David,
Yeah, so we've been asked by the city clerk's office to just formalize the schedule of regular meetings for the 2026 calendar year. Just so we all know when they're occurring, so that if we have to reschedule a meeting or hold a special meeting, it's clear that it's a special meeting. The other commissions do this, council does this, and so yeah, so basically, this is the schedule that we would all expect. These are all the third Wednesdays of every month, with the exception of the last one, January of next year, which we shifted a week later to accommodate not conflicting with the council meeting on the third week, and also the Sustainability Commission meeting, which is Thursday of that week, which is why we're pushing it to the Thursday following week on the 28th. So I would just look for a motion that the commission approves of this schedule for next year.
so except for the January exception, right? Everything else is the third
Yes,
Wednesday of the month, right?
yes.
I move to approve the updated with this Bicycle Pedestrian Commission meeting calendar 2026.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. David, can you help us?
Yeah. For the motion on the screen, how do you vote, Chair Gonga?
Yes.
Vice Chair Eshelbeck?
Yes.
Commissioner Matipatla?
Yes.
Commissioner Marcy? Commissioner Wolf?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Now I can make my travel payments on this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, the next item is the election of the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission Chair and Vice Chair. So the first item I'll go with saying that, it's the election of the chair. So do we have motion?
I'll make a motion to recommending vice chair to become the chair.
Thank you, Muni. And do we have a second? I can second. So we have a motion on the,
Yeah, so for the election of Vice Chair Eshelbeck as Light Commission Chair for 2026, how do you vote, Chair Gonga?
yes,
Vice Chair Eshelbeck?
I think I should abstain.
You don't have to, but okay.
No, if I don't have to, then it's supporting this, of course.
Commissioner Matipatla?
Yes.
Commissioner Marcy?
Often.
Abstention, Commissioner Wolf?
Stay.
Abstain. Say motion passes 3-0 with Commissioners Marcy and Wolf abstaining.
thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Very honored about it. Looking forward to working with all of you.
So I guess, do you want to?
Do you get to do the gavel?
I don't know.
So now that you're officially
I
the
think
chair,
this-
you could.
The next
run
role
the-
is still yours. I think the vice chair is still yours, and then I'll take over. Is it?
Was that?
When the
You
next item, I think I take the
Oh,
final.
so I complete the item and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can take over. That's fine. So the next one is, do we have a motion for the vice chair? I would suggest Muni Madhipatla to be the vice chair.
I second that.
David, we have a motion on the table.
Yes. So for the election of Commissioner Matipala as vice chair, how do you vote, Chair Ganga?
Yes.
Vice Chair or now Chair Eshelbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Matipala?
I accept it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a yes. Commissioner Marcy, Commissioner Wolf.
Abstain.
Hey, motion passes 3-0. Commissioners Marcy and Wolf. Abstain. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't have to fill in the truth.
We'll work on that.
Hi.
We actually chairs or?
Yes.
I don't think we have to, but yeah.
Take the chairs.
All right.
Yeah.
Just have a practical question regarding Vision Zero Task Force. I think you had volunteered to represent the commission here. Does it change anything? Does the chair has to be person representing the commission or how is?
No. As long as the commission agrees to representation.
Yeah, because the commission appoints a representative, so commission can decide.
For the
Yeah, I'm not aware of us going with the title of the chair, right? So whoever. Volunteers.
Who is volunteers and what are-
Yeah. All right, well, first of all, thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I'd like to thank Ilango for the last year guiding us through the meetings. Well done.
Thank you.
Big shoes to fill for me, but that will work my best. So we are on item number 5 tonight, which is a review and approve the draft Bicycle Pedestrian Commission 2026 work plan for a list of potential topics for discussion at the commission meetings. And I'll first ask for a presentation. Do you have a presentation?
not a presentation so much as just a quick discussion on what we're looking for here. So all the commissions this year are being develop a work plan of 5 items or so that they can kind of be responsible for achieving, working on over the course of 2026. These are items that should be consistent with the goals and duties of the commission as given in the Muni Code and of course with, city policies and goals. This isn't something that the council is going to see or approve. This will be a list that, and this is a draft list we're looking at on the screen right now, but this is a list just if the commission will make a motion to approve following this item and that you will have on your plate to work on over the course of the year. Generally, these are projects and not all of these that are listed. This is what I heard from some of the commissioners when I asked for thoughts ahead of time. It's just what I've listed here. These aren't necessarily recommendations. These are projects that should be, again, things that the commission primarily has responsibility for doing and achieving, not necessarily capital projects, which would entail funding and staff resources and city council approval. Staff is available to assist with implementing some of these projects or guiding the commission. But these aren't anticipated. It's not expected that these are projects that the commission is directing staff to work. This is your baby, things that you would like to achieve through the commission or outside. Again, these are items that I heard from the commissioners. We can go through these and talk about their appropriateness in turn, if you like. There are also a couple of additional ideas I have that I did not put on here yet that I'll bring up. So with that, let me know how you'd like to with it.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the summary. I want to ask first our commissioners for any clarifying questions or anything. Summary.
So is the leftmost column the rank, like, rank?
No, that's not a rank.
It's just a number. Okay.
It's just a reference numbering. Yeah, so this shows the project, what, what it would be called, what the objective of the project is, which I made a guess at if or he didn't, depending upon, because these are just, again, things that I heard from. If it's justified, if it's something that's currently on a city plan or in a, if there's a reason why it should be worked on. Is it consistent with one of the council goals? And if so, which goal? And timeline for completion, if it can be estimated.
Is the expectation that we pick 5 from this list and advance it to the council?
No, this won't go to the council. This will just rest in the commission.
Those files will be essentially our guiding posts.
Exactly.
Typically, can I ask the question?
Please.
Okay, typically, we have a recommendation, or the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission has a recommendation for city work program item as well. And of course, Bicycle Commission can have our own, work items, which the commissioners work on, but in general, there is also a recommendation going to the city council. I thought that this is for that, and aren't we making any recommendation?
To the city council?
Yes. Why not?
That's not the policy and direction this year.
That's interesting, okay. So is it, council directed us not to send any recommendation from the commission, so that's what it is?
The clerk's office, I don't know.
We're unsure.
Yeah, this is what we've been told by the powers that be. This is what's happening this year. The commissions are not being, commissions are not.
Tonight is to come up with a list of 5, and then, I would love for the council to see that list as well. But if that is not.
The council has not asked for this list to be taken to them for review or approval. Something we can potentially provide the information to them so they have it. Maybe that will be done, but we're following direction.
Okay.
And that's
The council will get memo with.
Yes. I'm sure they will. Yeah.
They're not gonna be taking any action.
Yeah, so when we are looking at this list, I'm assuming we should make this fairly closely aligned with our upcoming ATP time. I would assume so. Right?
Aligned with whatever the commission would like to participate in or achieve.
Yep. Great. Any other clarifying questions or?
One clarifying
Comments?
comment is number 3, streamlining the car speed across the city is my suggestion. And I took my inspiration from Vice Chair Maripata, who mentioned, and please feel free to correct me if I misrepresent what you said. But what I remember you saying is that there are 2 streets in Cupertino where people should be allowed to drive more than 25 miles per hour. That's Dianza and Stevens Creek, and all the rest should be at 25. And Stevens Creek and Dianza should be at maybe at 35 or 40, depending on where you are. And maybe you want to simplify everything and have 25 everywhere, 35 on Dianza and Stevens Creek, so that it's very simple for people to know how fast they should drive in Cupertino.
We can't do that.
I want to know if it's.
No, we're not legally allowed to do that,
We
but
should cover this in a follow-up.
yeah, we're not gonna take it.
I
Discuss the implementation.
just wanted to mention because it's
Yeah.
that is a little bit cryptic, so I just wanted to mention.
Yeah,
what I-
so we can certainly discuss, could be included in this project if it's something that staff could, or commission could work on, and staff could potentially participate in. But it has to be legal.
I have a clarifying question. So does the commission, we can list any projects we do here, but then the commission, do we get any resources to go on execute on the project?
Resources, define resources.
For example, let's say we come up with a program and then we need a consultant. It's going to cost like $50,000 to go and do this.
No. There's no budget.
There's no budget.
So there's resources in terms of time, like a couple of the items I was going to suggest you put on here were, dedicating time to, say, the bike fest and the bike to work, things that clearly fall under commission's responsibilities and interest. You could put as much time in it as you want to, doesn't involve any additional
right.
funding, and it's things that staff are also involved in that we could assist, partner in.
That takes away pretty much most of the projects.
Well, and quite frankly, as I mentioned before, like CIP projects would not, this is not the place for a CIP project. So we would need to eliminate those. Again, I provided this list just so I could show what I've heard from everybody. But CIP, this isn't the venue for,
But there is like items like line item 12, active transportation plan. That's clearly, if you want to get it done by June, that's clearly an item that's on our.
yeah, I mean, and I think that's something that would be appropriate because we already have the budget, we already have the consultant.
Right.
The commission is working
Right,
with us
Right.
through the meetings.
And it looks like also the Torrey Avenue. But anyway, I think before we going into the individual projects, we should open the check. Is there any public comments or any feedback from the public?
We have no speakers, Chair.
Wonderful, thank you. Then I think we're moving to the discussion item for those items and which are the 5 candidates that we would like to submit. Of course, we are open for new recommendations that are not yet on the list here as well. Or selection from the list here. Anybody wants to get first?
Yeah, so for me, the 3 things that caught my eye are number 3, number 7, and number 8. As things to focus on, right? So, because I think, those, I see them as, biggest
What are
balance
those?
spot. Minor changes, but we deliver a lot of value.
And I can add some context if that's okay as we
Yes.
go through these. So, so for example, 3 and 7, the city is staff, we are in the process of moving forward with hiring a consultant to evaluate speeds and speed limits throughout the city. So that is something that the commission could also be involved in as we go through that process.
To me, our city, as Marcy said, it's not a speedy city. So if somebody's speedy, we got to stop, right? Because
Yeah, and the library crossing.
yeah,
We're already working on that with the commissions.
I see that all the time. I worry about it.
Yes.
Young kids.
100%. 100%. Any other votes or?
So, yeah, so I did propose something, but I was thinking I had a different idea at that time, like we go to item 13. This is more like a pedestrian safety program. This is like picking up kind of this was motivated from, what's there in the Vision Zero, but more of saying that, okay, we want to improve the pedestrian safety in the city and what all things that we can do quickly. Daylighting, for example, I think that was mentioned in the ATP as well. And then high visibility. That's basically the high visibility crosswalks, like curb extensions. And then nighttime, we have seen that, Torrey Avenue is an example, right? Where there's not good lighting in places where there are crossings and then people might get, near misses or run over. So, and the other one is like a leading pedestrian interval. These are smaller changes that we can do to the existing ones, which can improve the safety, right? That was the idea of that thing. I labeled it as like a pedestrian safety program. And then these are the very few improvements that we can do it around the city that gives more bang for the buck. And need not be part. I mean, of course, some of these will be covered under the major projects under ATP as well. But this is more like what can we do quickly, lower hanging fruit that gives you major bang for the buck in improving pedestrian safety. That was the intent of this program. And we can kind of identify and propose these are the things that we can do. Of course, it will need, if it has to be executed, it needs budget similar to the Torrey Avenue, right? So if we decide that these are the recommendations that the commission, as a commission makes, then it needs to go to the city council for funding, depending upon what that is.
So if I could ask for 5 votes from everybody.
Just one, one more thing is an additional project is I remember Mayor Moore during the campaign for the election for city council, she mentioned in the Walk by Cupertino kind of survey that she wanted to put together a campaign, like something called, if I recall correctly, We Are Bright at Night, where people would be handed over some sort of, flashing stuff to be visible at night, because it's true that the lighting is not great everywhere. And that way pedestrians could be much more visible. And given that she's the mayor now, I have a feeling that she would be supportive of that. And council maybe as well. So I think it's worthwhile putting, because I think it's not a CIP project or anything, but it's probably something that we can make happen.
It falls like in year 13, is that like?
You could put that into 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll get.
It's an extension of 13, yeah.
Because 13 is very, it's like the external infrastructure.
Uh-huh.
What I'm talking about is like
Yeah,
what people can.
The
carry.
people side, yeah.
it could be education, or it could be other, they could come and pick
Yeah.
it up from the city or library, for example. We can- yeah.
It's a great.
So could we? So 13 is really falls under the umbrella, I think, of the active transportation plan. The things that you're describing, Alonso, there are really things that are recommended in the. So would it make sense if the commission wanted to have the active transportation plan as one of their items, to kind of roll that in?
Or 12, you're saying.
Yeah.
Roll that into the ATP, and you can even make a note in the ATP line that, maybe within the ATP, you can focus on some of those things because the ATP is broad. But kind of roll that into a single item. I think that might
Because it's
Sense.
infrastructure, it's in both cases, it's infrastructure.
make sense. Yeah,
Argument.
yeah, because the active transportation plan will contain a lot of recommendations for crosswalk enhancements, curb extensions, quick build projects. It focuses on schools and high energy network corridors. So it really already includes a lot of that. So we could just combine them together in the ATP, and if you want to have a focus within the ATP line of those items that along with highlighted, the pedestrian related stuff.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Which does not exactly cover what Marcy just said about the kind of people side of the house, like the enhanced lighting.
And
Maybe some giveaways for residents or what.
that could even maybe be a separate item even. I
thought of it as a different item.
Yeah, because I don't know that we've addressed that direct, because that's almost something that the commission, if they wanted, could do outside of the ATP and even maybe in
Just
cooperation,
create a separate.
safe
item
routes
for
to
that.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Line item 14, that's specifically targeting the people side of not the infrastructure, but the people side.
What would you give it the title for?
That's all.
What would you call your project, Hervé?
I would say,
Yellow jackets.
It could be yellow jackets or lights, like people
Yeah.
carry, people might be okay to carry lights than the yellow jackets.
visibility devices for individuals.
Because you mentioned Mayor Moore had a
Yeah, we are bright at night.
Bright at Night. We could just say like a Bright at Night program.
Yeah, that's a,
Yeah, sounds good.
It's easier. So what I might do then, if it commission is okay, is and I can add your thing along go here. Copy for your.
But it's doing that, there, can you talk about item 9?
Yeah, again, this is what I heard from the commissioners, so I can't say a lot about it. But from what I gathered, that's also, I think, would fall under
That should be.
Similar
part of the
thing that we're
ATP.
talking about. Yeah, so 9 would also get
Yes.
in fact, we could probably even just strike out 9 because it will be covered in
Yeah.
12.
It's a subset of what I went for.
Yeah, exactly. So let's strike out 9. And then let's strike out 13, because we just included that one, 12.
And then it looks like we can take out the CRP projects as well. that are-
Yeah,
they're probably not gonna make it.
so we should take out,
So 12 you want to highlight, no?
yeah, 12 we're gonna keep. 14 we keep. 13 would get struck out. Yeah, so 1, 2, 4,
5, 6,
5,
1, 2, 4, 5,
1,
6.
2, 4, 5, 6.
Does that leave us with 5 now?
Yeah.
And actually, I was rereading the email. You don't have to restrict it to 5.
They don't, okay.
So, I mean, I'd recommend not going wild, but we don't have to just keep it to 5.
But this is a good list, I think.
Okay, so we've got, so 3 and there's another one a little further down, Prashant, it's similar, the AB 43 one.
Mhm.
Can we combine those? 3 and
Which-
7?
3 and 7, yeah, kind of similar.
Can we just keep 7?
7 seems like a superset of 3. Yeah.
Let no be a full. Full projects, subset. Because 3 talks about the entire city. This one 7 only talks about both Wheeler, Homestead, Staten.
Yeah, maybe we can put that streamline across the city into that.
Yeah, instead of limiting it to.
Yeah, limiting it to just,
Mhm.
that could become a column C.
Maybe
Of
just
7.
yes, C7, just change the cell C7 to remove the specific streams.
Copy what's in B5 to C7.
Yeah, exactly, C7.
What was the streamlining car speed across the city?
Yeah, you want me to copy it.
Yeah, so in C7 should say streamlining car speed across the city.
Yeah, that should be,
That invalidates the previous statement, the wolves telling and all that, right?
Yeah, get rid of, yeah, so we're eliminating that, right, the first
Yeah,
sentence.
street, yes.
So it should just start with streamlining car speed across the city.
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay,
Wonderful.
and then get rid of Regner Trail. That's a capital project. Bike racks,
Just on the Red Light Quick Trail, how is that a capital project? Would it be possible to open the trail because it's in decent?
we can't just open it, it's not our property.
But that,
Sorry, south of Pacifica, yeah, it's water district.
yeah, but do we need to get?
Remember the process we went through to open the current trail?
Well,
Oh, you weren't here. 7 years of blood, sweat and tears. Yeah, we can't just open the gate.
I'm wondering if we should include a topic on the technology side. I mean, we've been talking many times this year about tracking data and capturing data. And even the project effectiveness guides from the consultant say the city does not currently own the counting technology needed to answer this question. Should we use 2026 as a year to come up with a plan? What we want to do or
For technology.
yeah, for technology?
That's a,
Well,
I feel like that would be a reason for us to focus on it and make some progress.
I think we need to not expand this too far. And I think we're not even sure how the technology corridor is gonna play out. And we've been asked by the city council to look at red light cameras and feasibility and costs and all that. So that's something that we're already doing. I'm not sure how much of that falls into the purview of the I mean, it does peripherally, but it's not a lot the commission can really do about that at this point. I think once we find out more information about the program, once the AT is adopted and, you know, we have it actually in the prioritized list and we can consider moving forward with some projects, that's something we can bring back to the commission for further discussion and maybe include it in.
It would be a candidate if we have 5 slots open.
Yeah.
I just don't see what could really be done on that this year.
Okay, maybe can I please say something? So possible that, you know, we can come up with recommendations like, you know, what this means by technology corridor, right? So yes, one is the speed light, the cameras, right? So that's one thing. But then there are a lot of improvements that can be done, and we're not doing it. Like it's more of, you know, for example, like near misses, or counting, you know, the pedestrians or bicyclists on a major intersections, right? So those are the things that are possible, I think, with the existing infrastructure, but possibly you might have to subscribe for new licenses, for software licenses to do that, right? So the city already knows it, or do you need any help from the commissioners to go and investigate or research and make recommendations?
We don't really need any help. To be frank, our focus right now is getting, honestly, with respect to things like that, getting the ATP adopted, making sure that items like just within an adopted.
Okay.
I would love to see us at the end of the year have at least a plan for implementation in 2027 of the technology side. That's what I think I see as the opportunity. I don't expect us to implement this year, but I think at least that we focus as a commission and review it, I don't know, during the year, twice a year, kind of to make progress.
I mean, I can include it if the commissioners would like to take that upon themselves and do research and come up with recommendations, but it's not something at staff level we're going to be moving on, at least in the beginning, first half.
I mean, this was a program that was done as part of the Joint Technology Commission and BPC. This was like a few years ago, and there were even pilots programs that were run, I believe, in some of the intersections.
Yeah, there is no reliable near miss technology right now. There's things that can capture near misses, but it's not anything that we could use to reliably gather data and make
Let me
recommendations.
ask you differently, David. What other vehicle do we have to make sure that there's a continuous energy on this topic so that we're not having the same discussion in January 2027?
Well, again, I can put it on here if it's something that the commission wants to research and provide, input to staff. I don't want to keep you from pursuing a passion, so I'm happy to put it on here. It's not something we're going to be able at staff to move forward on in the near future. We're doing research on red light cameras for council. We can't do anything with speed cameras right now because they're not legal. Near miss cameras, things we've looked at, and it's not reliable. We've got the technology to do actual counts, pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle counts at intersections. We are gathering that data. The ATP is going to recommend programs for continuing to do before and after bike ped vehicle counts at locations. So we've pretty covered the scene from my point of view.
So if anything is there, then that can be part of the ATP, then you need to have a package on what needs to be done as part of technology, or it will be already documented by the consultant.
For within the ATP?
Yeah.
Well, the ATP is a general idea of what's going to be included in a technology corridor. So those are things that we would look at later if we decide, okay, Stephen Street Boulevard was defined as a technology corridor, it ranked fairly highly. The council wants us to move forward on doing that. We would dive in and say, these are the technologies that make sense on Stephen.
Well, it sounds like maybe we have only 4 items for this year that we've been mentioning as well.
Well, I can give you more. So as I mentioned, the Bike Fest and you don't have to include it, but I think it would be very useful for the Bike Commission to be involved.
Yeah.
heavily in the Bike Fest and in Bike to Work Day. And you are generally anyway.
We've been always active, yeah.
So I'd like
So are
that.
there remaining funds on the bike and bike rack project? I thought-
Yes, and the bike rack project, we have,
Those
the
are-
rotary racks have been installed. We still have $42,000 of money that was provided by council, which we would like to go out and install the U-shaped racks at, flood the city with them, quite frankly. And we'd like the commission's involvement, and we developed some proposed locations in the past that we've presented to the commission, and some of those were met with a better reception than others. And to the extent that the commission could advise us on places.
Is any area where the city has staff available and the ability?
Well, this is a council work program item, and it's something that
Yeah.
it's been there for a few years, and we've stalled a little bit because of, trying to get these racks in for the Rotary, and we haven't always agreed on the locations, because we're constrained in terms of where we can actually place them. We can't place them on private property. I know that was something that was supposed to be looked into by the Rotary, and I don't believe it really was to a great degree. So we could use some guidance from the commission, exactly where you'd like these racks placed so that we can go install them.
But we had already provided feedback about that, right? I remember we had a slide deck with all.
There was some,
There
yeah,
are some locations.
there's some, but
That were not.
yeah, but a lot of the locations there wasn't an agreement on. So I can bring the list back or I can send it out to the commission.
Maybe that's part of a future meeting, we just
Yeah, we're not
do
gonna,
it here and make it as part of. it.
right.
Those funds, run out after a certain date.
No, I mean, council could decide to take it away if they wanted to, but
But it's not like everything has to be done by June 1st or something.
no, there's just an expectation because it was a council work program item that we completed.
All right, that means now we have a list that I think seems like a good summary.
So,
Can we take a look quickly one more time to
Yeah.
see?
Bike feast instead of bike fest.
Bike
we
fest.
just,
Yellow one.
we just delete the rows that are struck out because this is just for discussion purposes anyway. Track.
So let me go ahead and this one.
So. No, we want to show the bike. Yeah, the bike racks, the bike to work day, bike fest. So Victoria Crossing bike
It's
racks.
exactly 5 items, huh? No, it's 6 actually.
Six, but the 15 is ongoing, so.
If you can stick to 5. If you can stick to 6, that's fine. If not 5 or 6, it probably doesn't matter. Is there an upper limit?
Normally, we don't put the bike to work day.
No, it's not.
Yeah, bike fest
It's implied.
anyway, it's given, right? So it's.
Yeah.
So if I can just,
Remove-
because I'd like the commission to actually make a motion on this, so I want to, make it as complete as possible. So tell me if I'm writing something you don't agree with.
Okay.
That. Looking at it, so it's not just streamlining, we want to actually bring speeds down, right? Is that,
But both.
Yeah,
or both, right?
sounds good.
Yeah.
And then for the bright at night program, then we should at least have one sentence saying what it is.
What it is, yeah.
Distributing some kind of lighting devices or like
Visibility.
wristbands or,
Night visibility equipment.
yeah.
Excuse.
Is that? Okay,
And do we need to keep that items in row 17? We can actually remove it also. The 50%, the 15 item, because anyway, we have been doing it every year.
But we can leave it on as well. It doesn't really hurt us.
Yeah, we don't.
It's a neutral one anyway. All right, it sounds like we have a recommendation. Can we have a motion for approving that work program items for 2026, please?
I move to approve.
Give it a second.
Second.
and I will, after the meeting, I'll clean this up.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
motion and we have a second, so we just can go through a vote then.
Yeah, and the work bikes commission work program that is on the screen, or was on the screen. How do you vote? Chair Eshelbeck,
Yes.
Vice Chair Maipala, Commissioner Marcy, Commissioner Goddard,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf,
Yes.
motion passes unanimously.
Was seconded by?
I second.
Yes, we have a second, yeah. All right, wonderful. So this item is completed. We are now moving into the future agenda setting. We have this list that we all maintain. We can bring it up on the screen here for visibility. If anybody has any Actually, I think we have still item number 6 to cover as well, which is staff update and commission. I think this is item before. This one first.
So, yeah, for staff updates, I will just note that the Stevens Creek 2A project is proceeding. You all may have noticed some traffic cones at some of the corners as we hunt for locations to put foundations for new traffic signal poles that are going up at the De Anza and the Wolf Road intersection. And it's challenging. So there's been some delays in getting the new poles up, but we're working through those vigorously to try to resolve the conflicts and hopefully to get foundations poured within the next couple of weeks and then get the concrete bike barriers out there. So still on schedule for finishing up in April timeframe.
Excellent. Any other updates from David or from any of the commissioners?
The Wolf 280 interchange project is moving forward. So the project was put out to bid by VTA last year and received favorable bid results. And so the VTA board is going to vote next month to award the contract. And then work will start on that within the next couple of months. And as soon as I have more information regarding schedule and impacts and all that, I'll let the commission.
So execution on this one is the VTA. We don't really, as a city, are not really.
It's a VTA project.
Yep.
We're a partner. We've been involved throughout with the design and looking at traffic control plans and things like that. But it's their project to award and manage.
Excellent.
Is it Caltrans as well? Because I thought
They're a partner as well. Yeah, they own the property. So yeah, obviously they're heavily involved, but it's VTA's project.
Anything else?
Yes, from my side. So talking about the VTA, there is a program, project that is coming up from VTA. I don't know if you're aware of it. They want to put some bike racks along Stevens Creek. So that's back to the topic of bike racks. There's like 6 or 7 locations next to transit stops where there will be not only bike racks that can be used, but like literal boxes where people can be safely put their bikes into and then take out. So I don't know, were you aware?
I'd heard of it. Yeah, I don't know the details.
That's coming on Stevens.
Some buses?
Next to the bus stations, you would have like a literal big box to put your bike into.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, not just an very new whether someone can just take the wheel, but in that case, locked box where you can.
Oh, I see.
So will we, as a city, have kind of visibility into that and the opportunity to give feedback, or how will they decide just on their own, or?
We will make sure that they coordinate with us.
Okay, good, that's simple, that's most important.
So if they're planning to put it in the public right away, they will have to.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how often that use case is exercised, like, do we have people riding to the bus station or bus stop and they leave the bike and get on the bus?
Unlikely, because they take the bike and the other end.
Yeah, that I don't know.
For the last mile, you can take the bus, and then if you go to work, you just, not for the last mile, go. Living in Cupertino, you can go to Stevens Creek and then take the bus to somewhere else. That being said, I just want to point out the cost for these boxes, and then also, by the way, that's great for people who want to go and shop and you leave their bike in a safe storage. The cost for each one is, if I understood correctly, $10,000. So that would be 70 euro. Free money.
So to me, going to some place to shop on a bike and, leaving the bike and walking around and, shop, come back and get on the bike and go. That use case I can see, as a valid use case. But I don't see, somebody biking to the bus stop, leaving the bike and getting on the bus and coming back and, taking the bike back. But most likely, they will take the bike with them on the bus and, go wherever they're going.
Yeah.
So I don't want us to be doing things, that are just waste, right? Even if it's free money
And eating up space that could be
Yeah.
used otherwise. So I think we should take really all over
That's my
that
take.
and make sure that we have the opportunity to influence and drive that. So this
we
is
should
something
really,
I would love to see as a commission as well.
We just shared the location, we didn't share any of the designs or anything of what it looks like. They just told us that there is a plan for them to begin that. So
Okay, so if it comes, then you can request the staff to bring it up to the commission for
Yeah.
discussion.
But
If such a program comes.
again, if something comes on the right of way of the city, they have to work with you anyways, so.
and there is a plan already published about the locations or
There was like a very, 10,000 feet view of the map. And that was on Stevens Creek because it covers the entire Santa Clara County. So it was hard for me to pinpoint exactly which locations.
so it's part of the VTA website. Wonderful. Anything else
Yeah.
on the commissioner?
Yeah, I have two items to request, David.
Yeah.
So one of them is, this was a request, this regarding the bike racks, right? There was a public comment and then we requested David to do the research and then bring back regarding the liability part of it. And it looks like that happened in one of the bike racks that was recently installed by the, right?
I don't have any information about anything that happened.
Okay. All right, so that was the first one. I had one more to ask the staff. It's not my, okay. We'll skip it maybe next time.
Yeah,
If I-
all right.
Yeah.
Any other final updates, commissioner reports? Doesn't look like. And I'm closing this item here, number six.
Sorry. Yeah, it
No worries.
So last time I requested, or in fact, it was requested as part of one of the motion is to update the city VPC website. There is still that first paragraph has a stale information from past, like 10 years ago. So I think you might want to
Okay.
take a note of that and
Could we
update.
take this in the
Yeah.
meeting? It's as well.
Okay,
It was there in the meeting.
yeah, we'll I apologize, we'll get on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. All right, closing out this one here, and then we move to the future agenda setting. This is really where we look at the list. Thank you, Prashant, for showing it us here. So the CIP, is this something that we will be looking at then, David, or is this
Yeah, Susan bring.
We have our 5-year CIP plan right now. We're working on year one of it, the 4 out years. Most of those funds are being focused on fixing our facilities and fixing our storm drain system. We have an extremely limited capital improvement budget right now due to various budget cuts with the sheriff's contract coming through. You don't expect to see that increase anytime soon. So we're kind of focusing those dollars on critical repairs. I think the one thing that's not necessarily in that critical area is, I think, year 4, looking at the Blackberry Farm golf course, to get in there and replace irrigation. Part of that will be, part of it's because it will save us money. Utilizing a lot of water out there. It's something that will eventually save us money. You could provide a recommended project for year 5 that we could consider and have council also consider. And right now, just due to the existing condition of our infrastructure and not having a lot of money, we need to focus those on other stuff.
So it's probably better to finish ATP first and then post ATP completion. I think it's probably better. Can we have some options? Yeah, makes sense. Understood. Any other feedback? Any others? City work program or
I think so.
we completed that, yeah. Dorian, you should stay on here, I guess.
When is it coming back?
February.
Or is it?
Need to bring it back in February.
Oh, that's good.
Great. Well, some of them we already put in the work program here, so it sounds like that's consistent. So talking about the CRT, is the Tamianino then part of the CRT? Is that
It
already?
is currently included in our CIP and it is an effort we're working on, we're down a lot of staff in our CIP division right now, so we're moving slowly. We have got thumbs up from Valley Water on the concept, and so we've gone back to the engineer and the engineers beginning design drawings. So it is moving forward, it's just we don't have dedicated staff for it. We're trying to got, I think, 25 projects we're actively working on. We've got 2 people working on those. If anybody's done project management, construction, working on more than 4, it's crazy and right now our focus is on trying to get finished. A project as well as phase 2A, those are items while we're also working on other things.
Yep. Any other project that should add or remove? That's like a pretty good list.
Is Torrey Avenue?
Yeah, the pedestrian safety on Torrey Avenue, is that?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so that,
It's above as well. I think it's on.
yeah, it sounds.
It's a duplicate, yeah.
So speaking of that, when are we gonna see the result of the speed measurements and that were done?
The ones on Tory or next week or next month? Or
So any final recommendations? If not, closing this item as well, and that brings us to the end of this meeting today. Our next meeting is on February 18th, in person here in the Finland Center as well. And with that, I'm adjourning this meeting at